No worries. We'll begin with the legacy stuff then.
Oh Mike Council, FRST drafts for some of the critical roadmap stuff.
Also, greetings. I mostly keep my mic muted while they're doing construction outside. I don't know if you can hear it, so.
Okay, those two are just to read through, give feedback, comments, discuss. Third one is a topic on the character backstory department, with several questions, so I'll prepare those for after we finish these two.
Mhm.
Anything missing from the locks list? Can't really think of much else off the top of my head that might need locking, especially since we're trying to go for more flexibility in attending RP events and the like.
I'm just reading through the middle one again. Let's see here. I would say, um, yeah, the soft lock, the inventory lock, the hard locks, the three main ones. So, um, I don't think we're missing any. I think that covers all the bases. Um, I'm just reading through the top one again for the second time. Those seem pretty much what we're looking at. Any thoughts on the locks from the peeps? I read through the next section.
Yeah, one bit I wanted to ask about was leaving a mission. I think as long as they're not hard locked they should be able to leave the mission early, which just removes them with anything they've gained already from previous sessions.
I would say even if they're hard locked, they can leave a mission. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just can't make a session, so. And the way that we can get through that from an RP standpoint is the adventuring guild that everyone's a part of. The teleportation sigils will pop them out and will pop someone else in as needed. So it's a non-issue there.
Fair enough, just an emergency thing to pop them out?
Pretty much. Essentially, for lore reasons, the emergency teleport system will activate and they'll, pop out.
Sup. Only thing I'm concerned about it people trying to combat log so to speak, but honestly that falls under metagaming at that point and can be handled OOC.
Yeah, no, if they combat log, that is for moderation and discipline to deal with. So that is a different beast entirely.
Up I'll add a note about that and mission leaving.
Mm-hmm. As for the teleportation shrines, yeah, that's fine. The Adventuring Guild definitely would have teleportation circles set about, at least one per capital city. Um, so I mean, that's basically one covered for every major region. Um, in terms of the sigil itself, the sigil is also something that could be used to attune to way shrines and menhir stones. That should be noted. So one could use their sigil to teleport back to any of these locations they might have attuned to. But I would say that using the sigil and such things, we'll actually want to make sure that we have rules for. I see that you have rules for using the sigil and the teleportation shrines, but the way shrines and the menhir stones, I'd want it to be at least an hour to actually activate. Basically ensuring they can't just be like, oh shit, this is a horrible situation, I'm gone, I'm outsies. Maybe even a long rest required.
Do you type out the names for those two?
Yeah.
I assume that's basically like Breath of the Wild fast travel between waypoints.
Pretty much. It's way shrines are a weird arcane well that can transport people long distances exceedingly quickly. Menhir stones use the ley lines to travel and are a primal source of teleportation. And I would definitely lean more towards the long rest section for the teleportation through those two types of devices via the adventure sigil. Main reason that is the case is because if you're at a way shrine or a menhir stone and you're attuned to another one, you can teleport basically instantly, as long as it's teleporting to another menhir or way shrine, respectively. As for the teleportation shrine that you have listed, speaking loud, that's fine. I mean, for the most
Right, so
part,
they're quick gateways to each other,
pretty
but the
much,
sigil is a backup system to use them as a destination?
pretty much. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, and in terms of using the adventuring sigil to teleport to different locations that are like not game related, like oh, I'm going to teleport to get to my mission, or I'm going to teleport to get uh, complete my mission. Essentially, that'll be part of what I'm working on in the downtime rules. So, which I see you've already listed that it is something that I'm working on. So, which will also apply to way shrines and menhir stones. Da, 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 da. Yep, the rest of you have a list of the teleportation shrines seems fine to me. Basic teleportation circle system essentially. Any thoughts on that particular matter?
I've already spoken to Doliter. They've only got one major teleportation thing on the island, which is in the main city. Not
Mm-hmm.
sure if you have any comments on the stones or wayshrines on the island.
In terms of the Menhir stones and the way shrines, every major region has them, as they are essentially the old Primogen networks that were built, as well as the old Druidic networks that were built. Whether they are functional is a different story in terms of Dolator, due to the nature of what happened and how Dolator was formed.
For areas like Havenshire, I can have it where that's something where they can like repair it or something like that, and eventually open that area up.
Yeah. Uh, Main baseline for any creations of these within the universe. Way shrines tend to be uh, one within a couple miles, like 5-10 miles of any major city, as most major cities were built over the ruins of ancient Primogen cities. And then they have some through like near key, uh, highly magical points. So like you might have one that's next to a rift to the Feywild, or something that's like next to um, a grove of duskwood trees, for example. Um, not not like within the grove, but somewhat close. Um, they also might be in key ancient ruins of the Primogens. So like a forgotten fortress of the Primogens might have a way shrine kind of like nestled within the keep somewhere, kind of like maybe within a hidden secret passage room. Um, in terms of the Menhir stones, they tend to be anywhere that has key ties to nature or primal magics. Um, Ley lines go all over the planet, so really you can put it anywhere as long as it's not like heavily civilized. Um, as many of the ley lines that were previously within heavily civilized locations have been destroyed due to Primogens and their war with the Druids.
Okay, cool.
But that's a baseline. If you pretty much can put them wherever you might need to.
No, I'm good with all that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else to note to discuss on that particular shoops and whoops?
Erisea, I'll poke a thumbs about major cities and teleportation shrines. Eldaria, I need to finish the cities and locations before I figure out the details for shrines. And Arlogas, you've probably got it handled.
Yeah. I mean, if like the map itself for these shrines locations is going to be on the individual region maps. So like any of the ones that I'm like, these are where they exist. Uh, that will provide everyone like a key idea of where like core shrines and Menhir and whatnot are found. Um, Beyond that, you're free to, if you're like making a dungeon or something like that, and you're like this would have a way shrine, you're free to do so. I tend to keep most of my maps for like region maps, at least within the miles per hex. That way, the terrain itself is not like full on super highly detailed, so I can add things as needed.
Up. That's all 4 regions accounted for with regards to list out destinations. Mostly for the primary adventuring guild shrines, just so we have a solid list, since they'll probably be centered around RP areas.
It's true. Yeah. The list of these will probably be released pretty soon. So, because I'm making some solid progress with the region maps. But once that map is released, they will be provided, and all will see. Well, probably not all, but you know, it's fine. All right.
Okay, questions with regards to character creation department. First off, are all the character required to originate from Kydron? Whether initially or for the foreseeable future of the living world, basically how flexible are we allowing for character origins? I assume there's no generic or plane shifted origins currently available.
That is correct. If someone wants to play as a plane shifted individual, they'll have to unlock that particular option through play. I'm not saying it's an outright no, because I have had individuals plane shift into the planet or into the universe from a different universe entirely. But for the most part, especially during launch, characters should be from Kydron. And any such, backstories there, like I'm not from Kydron, will probably, need alterations. If not just outright like nah. But with the prestige system, shouldn't be too difficult to provide such origins. Or reputation system.
For more details, backstories, how much should we allow? Do we want to allow any hard details at all to start, or require all hard details to take from a review budget? We could potentially link that up with unspent prestige from previous characters too, but that's something to consider later.
What do you mean by a character budget?
Essentially, Do you want to limit character backstories at all in terms of how detailed they can get for personal details, assuming it's not conflicting with any origin or career stuff? Can a player write up an entire home village and all the inhabitants, or should we limit that to just a name and general location, or should we say no specific details at all without prestige purchases?
If they want to go full out and write us a massive booklet of information, um, I would say please be sparing with your massive booklet of information, because that's something that we all have to read, or at least the team going over it has to read. Uh, but no, I'm not going to limit people from basically providing us content.
There are some people out there that will write books, backstory.
Yes. So
Dear God.
if we start getting things like, 5-10 pages worth of content, I'm probably not gonna be like, you shouldn't do that. If it gets into like above 10 pages, I'm like, okay, what have you done? This is too much.
Your character can't be a king and have slayed a god and be level 1.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say write your backstory with the understanding that you are level 1. If your character is like an old grizzled veteran getting back on the top of things again, you might have a bit more content to deal with. But keep in mind that you're level 1. Addition to that, so long as your backstory doesn't conflict with other informations or anything of that nature, feel free to, shoops and whoops.
The only real difference to that is, like, for example, Monty here can make a character and reference, like, stuff that happened in Daughter due to the game he was in. It's just not necessarily canon, but he can at least mention it.
Yeah. Very much. Okay, my update to the patrons did not save, so I have to do that again. There we go. But yeah, I think a baseline for backstories is that understand that people are going to be reviewing it, going to be reading through it. Uh, don't slam us with a fuck ton of work.
You do not have a son. The Leviathan is not your son. Every time you ask, I'm going to tell you no.
Yeah. All right. Any other notes, things people would like to bring up on that? I probably should bring this up in preparation for what I am going to be discussing. Yes, I should.
Currently what I'm thinking about is at least 3 basic review aspects. First is realism, which is how viable that character is relative to their origin, career, age, and starting level. There's compatibility, which is how well it fits for the setting as a whole, that's stuff like backstory details. Last one is prestige/influence, which is probably a budget/purchase system, but that won't happen until after the first few retirements.
Yeah. It's a pretty solid baseline, yeah. I imagine we won't have to worry too much about prestige changes until middle of the phase. Where is the thing? Here it is. All right. Just waiting on that there fat drop of text. Oh, yeah. There we go. I would say wording for the first point in terms of subject to and belongs to the world could be better. We do not own other players' characters, but they are a part of the world. It is still their OC. But yeah, no, they do have to. They do have to. I can't remember the word for it. They do have to belong to the world itself in terms of they are from the world, which is just a wording issue. Even though I used your own words too. So. I just know a lot of people have issues when it comes to others saying they own their OC. And I would like to make it clear that that is not the case here. Other than that, though, yes. Any notes on that from anyone else? Things they would like to bring up?
Not sure how to word it, but the belongs to part is the backstory. So for example, any village they come up with becomes canon, so we have to be able to adjust anything that might be missed. I'll try wording it to say that we can adjust anything that's missed. I10K.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just needs to be worded so it's fitting within the reality of the living world as opposed to, yeah, speaking on ownership specifically.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. I mean, we're definitely going to need to have the retroactively in there, even though that might be a red flag for players. Simply because if we are sent like 10-page documents, I'm sure we're going to miss something.
You're going to have to pay someone to read a 10-page document at this point. Jesus.
I'm just preparing for the worst here. And if anyone ever sends in like a 300-page document, I'm like, what the fuck have you done with your life? What? Why? You're making like a massive school grade thesis for a D&D game.
If I see it's like that's some pages like that, I'm not even reading it. I'm just
Right.
saying it back.
Right.
No,
It's like,
shorten this way down.
Yeah,
it's like
I'm gonna adapt all of Harry Potter to my background.
yeah.
yeah.
Let's
Here's my
write a novel.
Here's my 300-page thesis so I could have tenure.
They write 300 pages. We'll tell them to join staff instead if they want to canonize that place so badly.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, join the writing team. Join. Or we have cookies. No. Anyways.
Writing team has muffins.
Well, I mean, that's a reason to join right there.
Not so much a red flag as someone writes a 10-page document that we miss some small detail that's lore breaking. Better to have this specified so we don't drop it out of the blue on them.
Yes, definitely. All right. Anything else?
Oh,
Mm.
I know we're not allowing people to join factions at the start because they wouldn't be allowed, but we should probably have something down the line set up for after factions are opened.
I imagine players will be using prestige to do that to start with.
Yeah.
The big thing is pretty much every faction has some form of, like, you have to do a trial to actually join, which tends to be something in terms of like actual gameplay. There might be like one or two that are not like of that nature. And those that are of that nature, I mean, that can just be an origin choice or something that can be gained through prestige spent.
Jokey, how many packs of cigarettes do they have to smoke to get into your faction?
The number is too great.
We're gonna, yeah. May need some after that, and liquor.
Yeah.
That might be difficult right now.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The other two things I have listed on my to discuss for the meeting is Eldaria progress and documentation/guidelines progress. Eldaria factions still need reviewing and then updating, Main story is being written right now and planned, but I'm probably going to try and poke some thumbs about Link's story, although the Baracia story probably needs Eldaria factions finished first since it's related to the Crusade. Main cities are also in progress, writing through those right now.
Very nice.
EM staff guidelines almost done and will be ported to docs for review after, then it's number tweaking and discussion to match the milestones system, then peer review. Introduction to the living world will be started after that finishes, should walk people through the available areas, basic mechanics of the living world side of things which could link to the central rules doc, character slots, how to apply and create a character, volunteering and benefits, and so on. Besides those two, you're probably going to have this in your list of things to talk about, which gods still need stuff.
Yeah, part of what I'm bringing up would be dealing with deities and patrons. That's the word. Regarding Eldaria, I have gone through a base overview. I haven't done a super detailed overview of the factions you have written up, but I did have a note, which since we're here, I can bring it up. For the mercenary faction that you have, solid faction thus far. Doesn't super fit the crusading theme as much. I can see it being one of the military factions, but they're kind of apart, more of the military or a side faction that the Crusaders would have dealt and handled rather than an actual crusading faction. When I refer to a crusading faction, I mean full-on holy warriors heading off to go and destroy the heretics. So if you play Wrath of the Righteous, it'd be that faction the player makes. Totally works as a faction and can be used. But the main idea I had for the two, which we can still keep it as is one of the two, and just have the crusading faction itself be unlocked later.
Gotcha. Yet I was trying to think of a faction which would fit the adventuring thing more, but I get what you mean about Crusaders.
Yeah.
I could make a strictly Crusader one which isn't as accessible.
Yeah. The main idea with the crusading one is that it was essentially the religious side to the Mages Guild's arcane side. But both work. But it is good.
Actually, now that you bring it up, that's very important to have actually, even if it's a non-player accessible faction.
Since Eldaria is so heavily tied to arcane and religion, that's the main reason I was Crusader plus Mages Guild, main factions for starting. But I mean, it exists either which
Too
way.
worried about having both as player joinable, but yet religious one, arcane one, and then the throne.
Yeah. We do have the mercenary faction now, though. So if you do work on a crusading one, we can still just Eldaria can just start with 3. So yeah. I mean, when I was looking over it, looked pretty solid. I need to give a few notes here and there, but yeah. In terms of the patrons, making some solid progress. I think I've added 8 patrons since last we spoke. Here's a quick little list to them. I've added all the Celestials, all the Coven, all the Elder Sphinxes, and I finished the 2 missing Fathomless patrons. I have some others in my booklet. I just put it on there, update a bit further, flesh them out a bit more, but yeah. Some of them are very lax in information, and that is done on purpose. Some of them are keyed towards current storylines that are happening as at the moment. And I would prefer they gain information as play progresses. Another big update would be that I finally finished the character sheet. That should be a view link to it. I've updated the tutorial page to help people figure out how to use the notes section and the purpose of the notes section. So if I had players who just post a giant line of text in the cells and it works, but it's not as efficient. I've added the sanity rules to the character sheet, as well as on page 2, I've added the prestige and influence and a little section for afflictions, since people might gain like corruption, diseases, and whatnot, and having a little section for that is helpful. You know, that should be at the moment the finalized character sheet. Unless there's anything I might be forgetting, but I don't think I am. With that all set up, Tech can fully get to work on making sure everything that they or everything that we need for them to do can now link to this character sheet.
And start on the ledger spreadsheets then, and planning for future bot integration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Anything else to bring up? Things to note? Things to discuss? Just waiting on that there fat stack of legacy messages. Oh yeah. Will I look at other things I have done that I completely forgot to bring up?
Nothing on the training side, outside of they still have to finish their game and the interview to be complete, but they can probably work as staff or part-time DM.
Gotcha.
According to
No
their post.
Nothing else on my end, although with regards to gods, do you have any that you want stuff or mechanics written for? I'm down to take a break to write some of that before I get back into the Elderia and documentation writing.
Well, since you're offering, let me just go and grab some that you might have interest in. Let's see here. Now, these ones are not required, so if you just, like, you take a fancy to any of these ones, feel free to just work on them. But anything from Churg down that is not already got a page, you're free to work on. Ardor is one of the few exceptions in that we already have them written out, as is Vestral. So those two, they're an exception because we already have pages for them. I just need to put them on a World Anvil.
Here's the list.
Oh yeah, copy. Boop. There you go. So yeah, Churg down, besides Ardor and Vestral. Those two already have stuff. I just need to put them on World Anvil. Those are free to just, work on, basically, design them as you might see fit. If you see a deity that says like creation in their domain list or their portfolio list, that is an indication that they are a creator deity for that particular race. so they should have such a backstory to them. For dwarf specifically, Yold, they are a ancient earth elemental that birthed the dwarfs.
What was the other one? Vestral and what?
Ardor, they are another dwarven deity. Yeah, I believe they're currently in the deities folder of the Google Drive. If not, they're also pinned somewhere in Divinity Team. Yeah. Additionally, you might have interest in terms of the ones that we need for launch to progress. You might have interest in working on Torak, Unira, or Indraskos, the bottom three of the deities list of the main block. You also might have interest in Luceris if you want to do another creation deity. Yeah, Kadentu, Norethi, Shayusen, those three I'm like currently working on. So they're all like in tandem, so I have to like make them side by side by side. So a little weird. Oh yeah.
I absolutely love charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the list, I'll probably definitely be fleshing out Tiffin for Eldaria since that's hand in hand at starting time. Which three were you saying I might be interested INF or launch? The last three were?
Torak, Unira, and Indraskos. If you look at the deities page, the main block before the first triple dash, that is the deities list that we need to have fleshed out for launch.
Those are above Churg. Are they
Yes.
still good to work on?
Yes. The only three that are not good to work on are Kadentu, Norethi, and Shayusen from that block, because I'm currently working on them. In terms of Typhon, their page itself already has a basic outline of things. It also has the symbol, their list of domains, of sanctions, orders, and whatnot. Anything beyond that, so like piety progression, tenants, followers, etc., those columns, those are free to work on, based off of the information that I have already provided for them. So if they do have a page, you're free to expand upon it.
Thumbs up, yeah, just the blank parts of that page since he's so tightly associated with modern Eldaria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Typhon's pretty important. All right. Anything else to note? Things to bring up? Things to discuss?
Nothing on my end. I'll be looking into writing up the Crusader faction in a bit on the side with the deities before I get back to Eldaria and the backend stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Great meeting.
Sounds good. All right. Unless there's anything else, that is indeed a good meeting. I appreciate everyone's faces, all the help you've been providing, and see you guys next time.